Welcome to the Struggle Series podcast with your host, Anthony Corelli.
Chapter 5. What now? Gio opened the driver's door and went across the street. He knocked on the window. The officer rolled down the window and said, "Can I help you?" Gio said, "I suspect you're a police officer that is looking for my neighbor. Am I wrong?" The officer responded, "It's none of your business who I am, sir." "Sir, I'm not trying to get in your business. I'm just saying that if you're looking for Ashley Connors, she's in my house right now." With that, the officer's attitude quickly changed. He and his partner jumped out of the car and began to run across the street. Gio ran behind them, knowing that they would need his keys to open the door. The officers arrived at the front door before realizing that they would need Gio to unlock the door. Gio handed one of the officers the keys and then stood back. The officers drew their weapons and slowly unlocked the door. One officer shouted, "Miss Connors, we know you're in there. Please come out peacefully with your hands up." There was no response or movement. The officer repeated his command. There was still no reaction. He said, "We're coming in, Miss Connors. This is your last chance to come out peacefully. Do not make us use force." There was still no response. The officers used hand signals to instruct each other on the plan. With weapons drawn, they ran into the house. Gio and the family all stood on the lawn trying to look through the front window to see what they could see. They saw movement as if the officers were going from floor to floor and room to room. The tension in the atmosphere could be cut with a knife. They waited to see when Ashley would be caught. They saw nothing. In the distance, sirens could be heard. Bridgette commented, "That must be the backup." Within a matter of seconds, the neighborhood was canvassed with police. Along with all the police cars, 2 unmarked cars pulled into the driveway. Billy said, "I don't think these are police cars." Several officers came from the backyard and all congregated on the front lawn. The chaos had the family wondering which way to turn. As the police talked, they saw the door of the truck open. Out of the driver's seat emerged an olive-skinned bald man who looked just as confused as anyone. Out of the passenger seat emerged a man covered in tattoos who looked like he had just gotten out of prison. Out of the other car emerged a large, stocky man who looked like a cop who was trying not to look like a cop. Out of the passenger seat emerged an older Italian woman who could have also been a cop. She looked like she was ready for a fight. Carlo yelled, "Are you kidding me?" Gio, Bridgette, Petra, Maria, and Billy all turned to him wondering what he was so upset about. Fortunately, it wouldn't take long for them to figure it out. Carlo said, "Hello, Aunt Liz." His tone was full of angst. Liz said, "Hello, Carlo. It's very nice to see you." Gio felt like he was in the twilight zone. There were police officers all around looking for his neighbor, yet the only thing they could focus on was the tension between his friend and this mysterious woman. Before the reunion could commence, one of the detectives came out of the house and said to Gio, "Well, she's not in there anymore. Are you sure you saw her?" "I'm positive." "Were all the doors in the house locked when you left?" Bridgette replied, "Yes, I checked them myself." The detective said, "Then she must have been in here because the back door was open. Does she have a key to your house?" Gio was perturbed as he answered, "We caught her in our house, and I demanded she give me the house key. I guess it's possible that she had more than one." The detective inquired, "Why did she have a key to your house? Do you trust her?" Gio said, "Actually, I don't trust her. We just moved here, but she knew the old tenants. We were not aware that she had a key until we caught her in the house." Why don't we go inside because I have a million questions? Would that be okay? Gio agreed, but looked at Anthony and his team to see if they were okay with the delay. Anthony said, "We can wait until you get this resolved. If you'd like, I will send Joshua to get us some food, and we can eat while you answer the officer's questions. Is there a place we can hang out?" Gio walked them down to the family room, and Joshua grabbed the keys and headed out to get some cheeseburgers. The detective asked, "Who are these people? I assume we're interrupting something?" Gio said, "Well, this is a pastor and his team. They came to pray for us, but we will answer your questions first since they are willing to wait." The detective said, "Sounds good to me. Let's have a seat." Anthony stayed downstairs, but Brandon and Liz went back up into the living room. The detective said, "Can I help you?" Brandon said, "I'm sorry. I'm Detective Brandon Silver, and this is my partner, Elisabetta Pingiatori. We work for the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. We're off duty, but we thought we may be able to help, depending on what's going on here." The lead detective said, "Well, detective, I don't know what you're doing here, but if I need your help, I will ask for it. I'm more than capable of doing my job, you know." Liz spoke up and said, "Listen, we're not trying to step on anybody's toes. We're just wanting to know if we can help. I used to work for this department once upon a time." The detective said, "Well, unless you still work for the Aurora Police Department, I don't need you." Brandon was getting angry. He said, "What's your name, detective?" Anthony thought, "Wow, do they teach these cops how to have an attitude at the academy?" The detective said, "My name is Sergeant Jacob Sandoval, and this is my partner, Ben Weiler. Why? What are you going to do? Call the precinct and get me in trouble?" Brandon took a deep breath and said, "Hey man, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. In fact, you're the one that's being disrespectful. I can assure you that we'll stay out of your way. However, be careful how you talk to people. It may not end well for you." Sergeant Sandoval said, "I'll take note of that, detective. Now, can you please go downstairs so I can get some questions answered?" Brandon stared long and hard before turning to Liz and heading back down the stairs. When Brandon took a seat on the sectional couch, he noticed that Anthony was laughing hysterically. Brandon said, "What's so funny, Corelli?" Anthony responded, "I'm sorry, Brandon, but I can't help it. Sounds like you got a dose of your own medicine. Now do you know why I don't like cops?" Brandon wanted to snap, but he knew Anthony was right. They all agreed to just drop it. Sergeant Sandoval said, "Okay, tell me a little bit about what you know. Let's start there." Bridgette jumped in first. "Well, I talked to my brother Randy Wilson, and he told me that his wife was found dead and that their unborn baby was—" She could not finish the sentence because she began to cry. The detectives just sat and let her cry. It took several seconds to regain her composure. She continued, "My brother is not really talking to us right now. He and his wife used to live in this house. We took over the lease from them. We've only been here a few days. My brother thinks that Ashley is the one that killed Sandy because she was the last person to see Sandy alive. I assume you think that too. That's why you're looking for her." Sergeant Sandoval said, "Well, we want to question her, but after she decided to run and hide from us, she's looking more and more like our prime suspect." Detective Weiler chimed in, "So are you two married?" Gio said, "No, but we're having a baby together. So we'll probably get married soon." Weiler continued, "So can you introduce me to everyone?" Gio said, "Well, my name is Giovanni Dottavi. This is my girlfriend, Bridgette Wilson. This young man here is Bridgette's son, Billy. That is my friend Carlo Pingiatori, and this woman over here is my sister Maria Dottavi. Lastly, this is our friend Petra Stein." Sergeant Sandoval said, "So, tell me where you were last night." Gio did not like the tone, but he knew the question was relevant. He said, "Well, we all stayed in a hotel last night." The sergeant looked around the room and said, "This house looks like it's habitable. Why would you stay in a hotel?" The group all looked at each other. There was a prolonged period of silence. Gio could see the detectives grow suspicious. From the lower level of the family room, Anthony shouted. Just tell him the truth. It'll save you a lot of time and headache, trust me. Sergeant Sandoval said, And who the hell are you? Unlike Silver, Anthony had no interest in taking abuse from some arrogant, power-hungry cop who lacked social skills. He said, Well, sir, if you drop your attitude, I'll tell you. Sergeant Sandoval jumped out of his seat and stormed to the top of the stairs. He said, I don't like your tone, sir. Get up here. Anthony spoke through his teeth. Hey, Sergeant, if you think I'm afraid of you, I can assure you I'm not. You're a rude, disrespectful, and unprofessional man. Why don't you get your supervisor down here and we can all have a little talk? Just because you have that shiny little badge doesn't mean that you can treat people like dirt. There are good people here. They are not suspects. I can assure you, everyone here has an alibi. So if you think you get to bully everyone around because you're a cop, guess again. Here's some advice. Drop the bad cop routine and talk to us like we're human beings. It'll get you a lot farther. Silver could not hold back an audible chuckle. Sergeant Sandoval was steaming mad, but he could not argue. He looked at Brandon and said, Do you think that's funny? Brandon said, If you only knew, Sergeant, if you only knew. The sergeant paced the floor, not knowing whether he should pounce or calm down. Weiler said, Why don't we start over? Sandoval took a breath and said, Okay, why don't you all join us upstairs and we'll get to the bottom of this. Anthony, Brandon, and Liz all stood in the kitchen as the detective sat back at the table with Gio, Bridgette, Maria, Petra, and Billy. Sandoval said, Okay, tell me again, where were you last night and why didn't you stay here? Anthony looked at Bridgette and said, Go ahead, tell him the truth. Bridgette said, Well, our house is haunted by a demon and we can't stay here. It's dangerous. This is Anthony Corelli and his team. They came here to help us with this problem. We have not formally introduced ourselves to them because you were here when they got here. We were meeting them here when all of this chaos happened. Sandoval shouted, Oh, that's where I know you from. You're that exorcist that got that family killed in Highlands Ranch. And you're that detective that pulled these people out of the fire. Why are you here with this fraud? Anthony wanted to respond, but Brandon said, I can assure you, this man is no fraud. I can also assure you that demons are real. The only reason that any of us are alive is because Mr. Corelli sent that demon away. So don't believe what you see on television. I was there. I will vouch for this man anytime, anywhere. Sandoval replied, Well, I don't believe in all that hocus pocus. I'm here to solve a murder. He was in deep thought and paused before he asked his next question. So, you think there's a demon here, so you ran to a hotel? Petra spoke up and said, We don't think there's a demon here. We know. I was a member of the previous team that came to investigate the demon that resides here. It threw me up the stairs, and then it almost killed my old boss. He ran away like a scared little child. I stayed to help this family. They called Pastor Corelli, and here we are. Sarcastically, Sandoval said, What do you mean the demon threw you up the stairs? Don't you mean it threw you down the stairs? Petra did not speak, but reached into her pocket and took out her cell phone. She dialed up a video and fast-forwarded through the recording. She got to the section she was looking for and handed the detective the phone. He watched as she was picked up and carried from the corner of the basement to the base of the stairs. The camera was not focused and the images were sporadic due to the chaos of the situation. As they watched, the camera caught the light that came from someone opening the basement door. Then, in a way that defied physics, the woman and her cell phone camera were thrown up the stairs and struck Michael Butler as they fell to the ground. The detectives jumped back at the image of a young woman who was just at the bottom of the stairs and was now in the family room. Anthony and his team could not see the image, so they waited until the detectives had studied it before they had a turn to view it. Sergeant Sandoval said, That looks like some amazing camera trick stuff there, but again, I'm here to solve a murder. Unless Ashley Connors was part of that event, I don't care. Anthony saw the fear in Sandoval's eyes, and his dismissal of the video was simply a self-defense mechanism. Weiler, on the other hand, was terrified. Sandoval continued, "So tell me about Ashley Connors." Gio said, 2 nights ago, we had a horrible night. We woke up the next morning and found out that Ashley had been in our house. All of the furniture in the living room here was rearranged. We saw that the front door was open and Ashley was running from our yard to her house. We're still not sure if the demon rearranged the furniture or Ashley did it. I went to her house to confront her, and that is when I demanded to get our house key from her. She gave it to me. I thought that was it. Why would she have 2 keys? Bridgette added, "Actually, we had met her the night before. We had a priest here to bless the house, and he was thrown down the stairs. When the paramedics were preparing the priest for transport, she was in the yard. She told us about the history of the house and the demon who lives here. Don't get me wrong, she is odd, but she said that the owners of the house left in the middle of the night due to the demonic activity. Then my brother and his wife moved in here. My sister-in-law told me that she had seen stuff in the house. Ashley must have gotten the key from the previous owners or my brother." Gio jumped back in. "When we pulled into the driveway tonight, we were waiting for Pastor Corelli and his team. He told us not to go in until he got here. Billy saw your car across the street. We assumed you were stalking out Ashley's house. I thought I saw some movement in that window right there. It took me a few times seeing it before I realized I wasn't making it up in my mind. I thought it was a demon. Finally, I saw the curtains open enough to see that it was Ashley. That's when I went and got you." Sandoval said, "Where do you think she ran off to?" They all looked at each other, and then Gio said, "We have no idea. We don't even know her well enough to know if she even has a family. All I know is that her husband and child died. Maybe she went to a family member's house. I just hope that crazy lady doesn't come back here when you leave." Sandoval said, "I wouldn't worry about that. We kicked her door in. There's nobody there. We will post an officer outside and out on Quincy Road behind the house. We will see her if she comes back." The family all sat in silence trying to make sense of the craziness of the past few days. Sandoval broke the silence with, "Well, that's all for now. Here's my card. If you see her, call me right away. You can also call 911 and the officer outside will be alerted." He then looked at Detective Weiler as if to see if he had any questions. Weiler seemed to have nothing to add. Sandoval stood up and said, "I don't know about all this demon stuff, but this house seems pretty normal to me." Anthony interrupted, "I can assure you that it's not. There's a demon that lives in that bedroom up there. It's been standing at the top of the stairs watching us for a while now." They all looked up, but they could see nothing. Sandoval said, "Well, that's your job. I'm done here for now, but if you can think of anything else, let us know. Be careful and try not to burn down any houses tonight or get anybody killed." Anthony did not respond. He let the detective have the little jab. He knew that his manhood was wounded, and he needed a small win. Sandoval shook everybody's hand, and then Weiler did the same. The detectives walked out the door and talked with the uniformed officers that were standing in the yard. Anthony turned to the family and said, "Glad that's over. Unfortunately, I have a million questions. First, let's formally introduce ourselves." Anthony said, "Well, let me start. My name is Anthony Corelli. I've been helping people fight demons for a long time. I've been able to see demons since I can remember. I'm an ordained minister and a psychologist by trade. I also work as an exorcist when called upon. I can tell you that you have a real demon here, an immensely powerful demon. You did the right thing by calling us. I'm going to have to get some information from you after we meet everyone." Joshua had returned, so Anthony motioned for him to go next. He said, "My name is Joshua Young, and I've known Anthony for a long time. I've been doing this work for many years, and I've learned to trust what Pastor Corelli says. I'm here for support and prayer. I can tell you're a good family. Just trust the pastor and he'll help you. One more thing, I bought enough cheeseburgers for everyone. If you're hungry, eat up. You never know where these things are going to go, so why do it on an empty stomach? Anthony looked at Silver. Brandon said, "Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Silver. I'm new to the game. I met Pastor Corelli when we fought a legion of demons at a home in Highlands Ranch. I didn't even know what that meant until recently. I have to admit I wasn't a believer until I saw it for myself. I'm here to support your family in any way I can. I'm not really sure how this whole exorcism stuff works, but I'm here for you." Anthony then nodded to Liz. She chimed in. "My name is Detective Elisabetta Pingiatori. You can call me Liz. Let's address the elephant in the room. I'm the aunt of your friend Carlo. I'm sure that he's told you a lot about me. Well, trust me, everything he said about me is probably true. Once upon a time, I put my own brother in jail. When he asked for help, I did the opposite. He met someone in that jail who was after him, and he was severely beaten. He was paralyzed. After that, his life spiraled out of control. I feel responsible for all that happened to him." Gio was astonished at how she completely owned her actions. It is rare when somebody accepts full responsibility for shameful behavior. She continued, "There's not a day that goes by that I don't regret my decision. I thought that it was my job to teach him a lesson. I didn't want him to end up like our dad. Turns out I was the one that ended up like our dad. I'm sorry, Carlo. I won't insult you by asking for your forgiveness. I will promise you that I'm here for you now. I was almost killed by a demon, and I see the world differently now. Your family can count on me as well. We will be here with you until the end." The group sat silent for what seemed like 5 minutes. Finally, Carlo said, "I'm not saying that I forgive you, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you are all here. In case you don't know, my name is Carlo Pingiatori, and I've been friends with Gio for many years. I don't live here, but I'm here to help. They're like family to me. No offense, Liz." Liz nodded her acceptance of the statement. Next, Gio spoke up. "My name is Gio Dotabi. Bridgette and I rented this house recently, and we live here with Bridgette's son, Billy. We both used to work for Bridgette's brother, Randy, but he recently fired us. So, we're unemployed and living in a haunted house. Would you like to know what's going on here?" Anthony said, "We'll get that in a second. For now, let's finish the introductions." Maria jumped in. "I'm Maria Dotavi, Gio's sister. I was just here helping them move in. I agree with Carlo. I'm here to support my family. I could not leave them here alone to deal with this. I'm here to help in any way I can." Bridgette was next. "My name is Bridgette Wilson, and like Gio said, this is our place. I'm pregnant, so we decided to move in together. I'm so scared to be here, but the neighbor said that if we move, this thing will just follow us. I'm hoping that you can help us because so far, everyone else has failed." Anthony looked at Billy and said, "And you are?" Billy said, "I'm Billy Wilson. I'm almost 14. I was really excited to move here, but now I hate it here. My room is upstairs to the right. So far, nothing has happened in there. I agree with my mom. I am scared. I hope you can help us. If not, I'm not sure what's going to happen to us." Lastly, Petra Stein spoke. "My name is Petra Stein, and I'm a leftover from the last paranormal crew that came here to help. I used to work for Jeremiah Stone until I quit last night. I recently got involved with investigating haunted houses. I learned a valuable lesson coming to this house. This has nothing to do with gathering evidence on a video camera. This is about life or death. It is also a spiritual battle that can be won or lost. I'm no longer interested in making money, exploiting desperate families. I want to really help people that are in danger. I'm hoping that I can help and learn from you, Pastor Corelli." Anthony said, "Now that introductions are done, let's eat some of these cheeseburgers, and one of you can tell me what in the world is going on with your crazy neighbor. From what I can tell, she sneaks into your house, and she may be a killer? That sounds like an entertaining story in and of itself." Bridgette said, I'm not hungry. We just ate. Why doesn't everybody eat while I catch Pastor Anthony up on everything that has gone on here? The group all agreed, and they ate as Bridgette began. Let me start with my brother and his late wife. Randy and Sandy used to live here until this past Saturday. My idiot brother knew that this house was haunted. His landlord would not let him out of the lease, so he pawned it off on us. We moved in, and on the first night, we were down in the family room watching a movie. Billy and Gio woke us up because there was a dark figure standing at the top of the stairs. We chased it thinking it was an intruder. We realized that there was no way that it could have been an actual person. We made it through the night, but it was rough. The next day, we called a priest named Father Doyle who agreed to come over and bless the house. When the priest came, we thought everything was over. We even decided to have him stay over for dinner. Unfortunately, it only made the demon mad. When the priest went upstairs to use the bathroom, he was thrown down the stairs. We even had to call the ambulance. That night, we had another horrible experience where the demon came after us. We all ended up staying in the master bedroom to make sure we were all safe. When we woke up, the living room furniture was rearranged. That's when we saw Ashley Connors running through our front yard. We're still not sure if it was her that rearranged the furniture or if it was the demon. She said that the reason she came in was to make sure we were safe. We saw that she was odd, but that's when we realized she's crazy. That evening, Jeremiah Stone and his team came over. We had a lot of hope in that intervention. That did not go well either. You saw the video with Petra. Mr. Stone was almost strangled to death as well. He was lifted off the ground. This thing is extraordinarily strong. We're not safe here, and we definitely can't have our baby living in that room. We need your help. Anthony made some mental notes and was already forming a theory as to how this had transpired. Since his injury, he was able to see into the spirit realm with little effort on most days. He had seen the demon in his dreams a few nights before he even got the call from Bridgette. He wasn't sure what the dream meant at the time, but now he understood that the demon was aware that he and his team would be coming to help this family. When he had pulled up to the house, he could see the evil surrounding the entire property. It wasn't that he could see demons surrounding the house. He could see that there was a darkness that had enveloped the residence. Even though it was not dark outside at the time, it seemed dark around the house. Anthony understood most people could not see the darkness, but he could. When Anthony had walked into the house, he saw the evil entity standing at the top of the stairs. It was staring down at him and almost seemed surprised that Anthony could see it. The family had spoken of seeing a dark figure that looked like a man. That is how the demon had chosen to show itself to the family. The figure Anthony saw was the same reptilian-like creature he had seen most of his life. The demon looked like a deformed monster with scales and small patches of matted hair all over its body. It had a face that resembled a creature that was part lizard, part bird, and part canine. He always had trouble describing the creatures because it was like nothing else on earth. Therefore, people could not understand the description. Anthony was always triggered when he saw television shows that highlighted ancient civilizations. He had seen many carved statues, cave art, and other rock carvings that showed odd-looking creatures. Anthony knew that these were demons that had come to those civilizations and represented themselves as gods. He thought of Egyptian art and wall paintings that showed beings that had human bodies and animal-like heads. Anthony believed that those were the demons that had claimed to be deities to those ancient cultures. The demon in this home was powerful. As Anthony had stared into the eyes of this ancient evil, he could see and feel a level of hate that was worse than most. Anthony had tried to communicate to the demon telepathically. He told the demon to leave this home. The demon had laughed and said, "I know who you are, holy man, but you don't know who I am. I've been tormenting humans for a long time. You and your God cannot stop me. I'm all powerful. Humanity bows to me." Anthony watched the creature disappear into the back bedroom. Anthony had gone down to the family room to wait for the Aurora police detectives to finish their questioning. After having a conversation with Sergeant Sandoval, he had gotten distracted from looking upstairs. It was not necessary to have eyes on the demon at this point. He knew the evil was there, and he knew that this thing would not go quietly. He and his team had their work cut out for them. Anthony said, "Okay, now we need to get to the hard stuff. I've learned through experience that the reason that we are confronted by a demon is that we have a door open that allows it to infiltrate our lives. Please don't think that I'm one of those judgmental religious pastors who wants to shame you for your sin. The opposite is true. I don't care what you did. I can assure you that I have not lived a perfect life. My list of sins is long. I don't have time to judge anyone. I just want you to put your stuff on the table. This will cause the demon to lose its power." Gio said, "So are you saying that our sin brought this here?" Anthony said, "Well, in some cases that's true. In this case, the demon was already attached to this place. I am saying that we can take the power away from this thing as it pertains to you and your family. You may not have been the ones that brought it here, but you can definitely help yourselves by not letting your secrets feed this thing." Bridgette said, "Is it because we're living out of wedlock?" Anthony said, "Well, I can't lie to you. The Bible says that we should only be cohabitating if we are married. On the same token, there is forgiveness for everyone. I'm not saying that everyone who lives together out of wedlock will endure demonic oppression. If you have demonic activity, the demon will use your unbelief to keep you stuck." Carlos said, "This seems extremely complicated. Will you go back and explain how these things work and how our sins relate to the demonic attacks?" Anthony confirmed that this was a good idea. He instructed them to get comfortable because there was a long answer to Carlos' question. The group sat back, still sipping their sodas from dinner. These demons are ancient creatures. They are pure evil, and they are cursed to roam the earth and torment humans. Most people believe that the demons are part of the contingent of angels that fell from heaven in Satan's rebellion. I don't believe that. Those entities are a different group of beings altogether. We have an ancient book that did not make it into the Christian Bible, but it is an important book. I'm okay with the fact that this book is not in the Bible. I believe that the Holy Spirit oversaw how the Bible was put together. I also believe that the book of Enoch has some valuable information in it. Many Christians give me grief about the fact that I even mention the book of Enoch. I always tell them that some of the writers of the Bible quoted this book as well as other books, so we should at least consider these books as adjunctive teaching when learning about certain subjects. The book of Enoch talks about a group of angels that went rogue and are ultimately responsible for the demons that we deal with today. The story goes that God sent a group of angels called the Watchers to come to earth and minister to humankind. This was after Adam and Eve had sinned in the garden. God no longer walked on the earth, so he sent a group of angels to teach humankind about his love and how to manage the earth. These angels set out to do their job, but somewhere in the process, they developed a lust for power and for human women. Soon their assignment was ignored. Instead, they pursued their own selfish desires. They set themselves up as gods over the people of their region. They took human women for themselves and began to have hybrid children. These children were called the Nephilim. The Nephilim are referenced in the book of Genesis in the Bible. These beings were giants, and they were also godlike in the eyes of humans. Soon the Watchers and the Nephilim had led the humans astray. The worship of the one true God was no longer the norm. The Almighty God looked down on the earth with sadness and rage. He decided it was time to cleanse the earth from the sinful humans, the Nephilim, and the Watchers. That's when he decided that he would send a flood, the great flood we hear about in the Bible. Even other religions have flood stories. Almost most of the earth had been led astray. God found one upright man that was chosen as the preserver of humankind. That man was Noah. The Watchers all died and were sent to hell in order to await the judgment. The Nephilim, on the other hand, were not sent to hell. They were cursed to roam the earth. They hate human beings for two reasons. One, because we are made in the image of God that cursed them. Two, it's because we're given a chance at redemption. These Nephilim are the beings we know as the demons. They roam the earth looking to torment human beings in order to spite God for cursing them. To put it simply, they hate us. They want to destroy us. Some of them want a human body again. That's when possession occurs. Most of the time, they just want to tear us apart. Honestly, I don't think it really matters if my theory is wrong. I'm not sure what this demon is after, but I will find out when we get to work in a little while. For now, here's what you need to know. They feed off sin. They feed off negativity and oppressive emotions. So things like depression, anxiety, anger, jealousy, and unforgiveness can give these things power. We're like a battery that charges them to manifest. We need to disconnect the charger and let them move on. A demon can be attached to a place, but when a new family moves in, it goes away if they're in a healthy spiritual place. On the other hand, if the family is struggling, the demon can find the energy to manifest and torment them. There are levels of demons, like a hierarchy. The demon here is a higher level demon. I can tell by the ease at which it manifests. If we're going to get rid of this demon, we will have to empty ourselves of any secrets and sins that we are trying to keep from God. You have to remember that all sin is rooted in unbelief. If we steal, it's because we don't believe that God will provide for us. If we get angry, we don't believe that God is in control of a situation, etc. We have to put our focus on God and believe that He is more powerful than any demon. He has given us dominion over this world, but we sin. And we start to forget that God has already forgiven us of our sin and has made a way for us to live free of demonic attack. If we doubt that God can save us, then we will give this demon power to stick around. It has an agenda, so it's motivated. We have to be completely reliant on God. So I'm going to ask you, are there any secrets or hidden sins that we need to confess before we provoke this demon? I know it may be embarrassing, but trust me, we are already beyond the point where this step is not necessary. So let's put it all out on the table. This is life or death, so there's no reason to hold anything back. Trust me, it's going to tell you things about me that are not flattering. It's just a play to keep God at bay. So, is there anything you can think of that may be hidden or needs to be confessed? Remember, I'm a pastor and a therapist. I've heard it all and I've seen it all. This is no time for embarrassment. Anthony then sat back and let the family think. Billy started with a confession that he had tried marijuana a couple of weeks prior. Anthony told him how proud he was for the honesty. He asked Bridgette to forgive him and to be proud of him for being honest. Maria spoke of being sexually active with her boyfriend out of wedlock. Anthony again thanked her for her honesty. The entire family confessed several sins. It was a relief after what Anthony had experienced with the Stout family. As the family concluded, a rumble began to resonate through the walls. Soon, it increased to what resembled an earthquake. Pictures and other items began to fly off the walls and shelves. The family began to scream and cower. Anthony shouted, "Demon, you have no dominion here. You don't belong here. I command that you leave in the name of Jesus." The shaking stopped in an instant. It suddenly became noticeably quiet. Then a low growl began to increase in volume. The group all struggled to hear what the voice was trying to say. It was as if the demon was repeating a phrase over and over. Finally, it stopped. Right as they turned to one another to see if anyone understood, a clear and audible voice said, "I won't leave until I have the baby."
Thank you for listening to the Struggle Series podcast. Please like, subscribe, and tell a friend. We will see you next time.